Happy to be at the Goodwill outlet. I love going in the morning on the weekend. It's usually pretty quiet, and as per usual, I was on the lookout for clothes both to sell on Poshmark and eBay, and then I'm also on the lookout for clothes for myself or friends and family. And you can tell pretty quickly the stark difference between thrifting the old bins that have been out for a little bit versus thrifting the new bins that they just wheeled out. The old bins are a lot more calm, not as many people, and then when they bring out the new bins, that's of course where everybody wants to be. So I would say it's for the most part organized chaos, which is good. But I'm out here looking for really any good items that I can flip and make at least like a $20 profit or so. The cost of good at the Goodwill outlet is very low. You pay by the pound. It's like $2 something per pound here in Portland, Oregon, Hillsboro, Oregon on this day. And as long as like the items aren't super heavy, the cost is still low. And even if the items are heavy, it's usually still less than it would be at a regular thrift store. I've finally started to master the art of just scanning the bins as I'm going through. Even when it's a little bit more chaotic like this, I feel like just kind of looking around before just reaching definitely helps to look for quality things or things that really stick out. Sometimes a brand tag is just hiding, but you just catch like a little glimpse of it. So I absolutely try to zoom out. Here's a quick cart check. This is a Patagonia Capilene long sleeve shirt. Probably would sell right around $20 to $25. I didn't end up grabbing it, but if I did, I would have used my sweater shaver to get some of that pilling out. And this is a Diane von Furstenberg and Target collaboration dress. When I saw it was a Target collab, I didn't think it was probably going to be worth grabbing just because that brings the value way down. Diane von Furstenberg dresses typically retail for $300 or more. And from what I could tell, this one retailed at $45. So it wouldn't obviously sell for that much. It was pretty heavy, so it would weigh a little bit more and bring up the cost at the Goodwill outlet. So I did leave that one. Then this was an Abercrombie & Fitch cardigan, a really good bread and butter. Probably would have left me with like a $15 profit, but I did end up passing on that one. I also wanted to look more into this BB ruffle top, which is a brand I really don't ever grab, but I was just kind of curious as to what it would sell for. Couldn't really find anything on this specific style, but items by that brand, especially pre-owned items, were not selling for much. Then this was a Bad Bunny tour shirt that I thought might do well. Some of the available listings were listed at like over $100. So of course I looked at the sold comps and they weren't quite that high, but still could sell maybe around like $40 or so. The thing with this one was someone had cut the sleeves off, and I think that, you know, maybe I shouldn't have grabbed it. I don't know if it'll still sell. I think it probably will, but of course that takes the value down a little bit. I also found just a regular Diane von Furstenberg dress, and I think this was a silk dress, although I couldn't find the materials tag, but I was pretty bummed when I saw it had some flaws on it. Didn't look like it would necessarily sell for much. I think for that brand, the wrap dresses are really what they are known for and what people really seek out. Looking through the bins a little bit more, this is really the place where I feel like thrifting in general is very low risk, but the bins in particular makes it so low risk. All right, this Free People leather jacket, I was kind of excited to come across this, but then quickly noticed it was in pretty bad condition. All right, another cart check. This is a pair of marine layer shorts. They look like they'd sell around $25. I couldn't tell if that was manufactured wear on the back or if it was actual wear, but I did leave those. And then this was a Ralph Lauren button-down two-tone shirt. So cute, so preppy. And I think with the right keywords, that'll be actually a really good sale. Did have a little bit of wear on the front there, but I'm gonna just use some stain remover to get that out, no problem. And then these Vuori jogger pants were a good find, and they should probably sell right around $30 to $40. That was a good find. I kind of needed that on this day just because this is a very reliable seller, and I know I should have no problem selling these pants. It is now Sunday. I'm at Value Village. I just want to spend a little chunk of the day thrifting, and it's a beautiful day, if you can tell. So I'm just happy to be out, and finding some good stuff at the thrift store would just be kind of like a cherry on top today. I pretty quickly went to the short section. I found this pair of Anthropologie chino shorts. They were priced at around $8. This pair, you know, maybe would have sold for 20 bucks. I did just leave those behind. This is a pair of Free People paper bag shorts. I was seeing more available listings than sold listings. I actually only saw one sold comp, and it was for under $20. And it wasn't even for the same color, so I did leave that. This was a pair of Levi's Bermuda shorts. This would have been a hard maybe at the bins, but here for 11 bucks, it was a no. I did a little bit of looking at the jacket section, came across this really good, cool pullover, quarter zip, 100% a bins pickup. would sell for probably like 30-ish bucks, maybe a little less. Another cool item, and another item I probably would pick up at the Goodwill outlet, which you'll probably hear me say a couple more times here. This was a pair of On running shoes. They're called the Cloudmaster. The sold comps did look pretty good on these, but they were missing the insole, and they definitely needed to be cleaned up a little bit, which I was willing to do, but since they were missing that removable insole, I just decided to leave them. They felt a little bit like a project, and I didn't necessarily want to deal with that. This was a pair of really cute Steve Madden pointed toe block heel booties. Couldn't really find anything comps wise on these, but I know Steve Madden doesn't typically resell for a ton. I didn't think picking them up for around $25 was necessarily going to be worth it. Then I was finding a ton of these Lululemon camo bike short dupes on this day. And then I did actually come across an actual pair of Lululemon Align camo bike shorts. So these I definitely would have grabbed at the Goodwill outlet for a couple dollars, flipped them for 25, but right around $14 or $15, definitely left those. This was a pair of 7 for All Mankind, really like elevated track pants with this beaded detail along the leg. Super cute, couldn't find anything on those. They were priced at $14. And probably wouldn't sell for more than like 30 bucks. I don't know how well they would sell, like how quickly. I did go take a quick look over at the purses and the bags to see what I could find. The main brands I'm on the lookout for are like designer brands like Coach, Marc Jacobs, Dooney & Burke, but then also kind of more niche ones like Portland Leather or Tom Bin. MZ Wallace is another one that I've had good luck with in the past. Any like Madewell leather bags even can do very well, or Fjallraven, a backpack would be great. So lots of things I've sold over the years that are on my mind as I'm looking through the bags. The things I'm definitely on the lookout for when I'm looking at the bags are leather. Anything that looks like a nice high quality leather, I am instantly looking more into. Anything with some unique detailing or just that really stands out in a crowd of other bags. I try to look at more than I even think are worth it, because sometimes you stumble across something that is really unassuming but actually ends up being something really good. And there are so many items that I was able to sell over the years just because I was curious about them and looked into them and, you know, found out they were a good brand that sold very well and that people were on the lookout for. So lots to look at in the bag section, and I love when there's a really hardy bag section at the thrift store with lots of purses to look through. Then I came across this really cool Loungefly and Disney Alice in Wonderland crossbody bag. So cute. Priced right around $40, so it was actually priced even a little higher than some of those comps were looking like they would sell for. I did take a little gander over to the men's section and found this Rod and Gun quarter zip pullover. This brand has done well for me in the past. I don't have a lot of experience with it, but I know it can do well. It's definitely retails at a little bit of a higher price point. It was 100% Australian cotton. I don't know if I've ever seen that before. I think this should sell right around $40 or so. Then I did take a quick look into this shirt. It's a Joie 100% linen button-down shirt. I haven't sold this brand in a long time. I think this is a newer tag. So I did a little quick check-in. I wanted to see how this brand is doing and how that piece particularly would do. Didn't think it was worth it at a $13 price point. Looked like it would probably sell right around 20 or 25 or so. Still was a really nice piece. And then this Beach Lunch Lounge shirt, great, you know, Goodwill outlet pickup, but of course I did pass on it at the price they had it, priced at almost 10 bucks. This J. Crew shirt was really nice. It was the newer tag, so kind of considered it, but not at that price point. It was 100% organic cotton, probably would have sold well, but wouldn't have been left with much of a profit based on how much I would have had to pay for it. And I did head over to the dress section, which during the spring and summer is a great section to flip through. And there's a lot to be found here, although I feel like sometimes there really is not much to be found. So I'm always extra happy when I find a good dress because they can be a little harder to come by, at least that's my experience. Some of the dress brands I have an eye out for are Marimekko, Love Shack Fancy, Amanda Uppershard, Diane von Furstenberg, Johnny Was. Used to be Gal Meets Glam. That used to always be one I would be on the lookout for, but I haven't seen that one in years. But a lot of brands that have done really well for me over the years. And then I actually did just look at the dress trends because I realized I have absolutely no idea what's even currently on trend for, you know, dresses right now. And A-line, surprisingly to me, is back in. Some things were really unsurprising, like you know, lace details or lightweight cottons, linen, things like that. Crochet was another one. I think Western core in general is very in, has been, still is. And so those were some of the trends I was seeing. Little white dresses was another one, just like, you know, things that are kind of obvious as far as like summer, spring materials, colors. But I'm always interested in what silhouettes are currently in. Oh, midi dresses are very, very on trend. Dresses are definitely a category that can do very well. I didn't come across any on this day at the thrift store to pick up for myself or a friend or to flip. But I did take a good look and see what they had. And it's so much easier to go through a bunch of dresses at a regular thrift store than the bins, where you really only come across a dress if it's in the bin. You know, it's like one at a time here or there. So I do like to look at the dresses at the thrift store, and I am willing to pay up a little bit for them just because I know they probably will sell at a little bit of a higher price point. And I did decide to go back to the bags and purse section on this day, and I found this purse that caught my attention. It definitely had a Western core aesthetic, and I did want to look into it. It had these really nice studded details. The star was some kind of like maybe mohair or just something really soft. I did end up leaving it, but it's so cute. I cannot imagine it'll sit for too long. And I'm sure with the right keywords and all of that, I could have gone for it and it would have been a good flip. But I did ultimately decide to leave that one. Okay, back to me in the past to close this out and tell you what I got at the thrift store here. I just got done at Value Village and left with one item. I left with only one item. It was the Rod and Gun men's sweater. One thing I realized pretty quickly after getting in there was that there weren't employees putting out new inventory, which typically there are. Maybe on Sundays they don't. So that, you know, definitely diminishes your chances of finding good things because new things aren't constantly coming out. And so I think everything was pretty picked through, although it still like wasn't terrible. There were definitely things to buy if you were thrifting for yourself, but as far as like finding good stuff to flip, I just wasn't really finding much today, you know, that was worth it at the price they had it priced at. So I wish I had a little bit more of an exciting end here, but that's just kind of like honestly the reality of it.